Okay, we're looking at the 1.4.4 activity number 4 on page 7. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your bag of blocks and you're going to make an arrangement of those blocks to draw and then create an inventor. So what I'm going to do here in this demonstration is I'm going to first decide on how I want my blocks to be arranged. So I'm going to be laying my blocks flat on the table, and you're going to be seeing the front view. When you draw and make yours, you can stand yours up and make yours appear any way you'd like. But for the sake of making this video, I'm going to show you the front view here on the screen. So what you'll need to do is you'll need to take at least 5 different blocks, so 5 separate pieces, and 3 of those blocks need to be different. So like I'm using a regular cube, I'm using a wedge shape, I'm using a block with a hole in it, and I'm using a cylinder. So I would need at least 5 total pieces, and 3 of those need to be different from each other. In this case, mine, I have 4 that are different from each other, but that's okay. You could have more. They all could be different if you wanted to, but you need to have at least 3 of them being different from each other, and a total of 5 pieces. So once I arrange them in the way I want them to look, I'm then going to do an orthographic drawing of those blocks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use each one of these boxes as a ½ inch. These cubes are 1 inch square. So they're 1 inch wide, 1 inch tall, and 1 inch deep. So 1 inch cube. But for this, we're going to draw it so that each box is a ½ inch. So I'm going to start with my wedge, and I'm going to start down here in the bottom left of my paper. And looking at the front, I'm going to draw my wedge shape. Next, I'm going to draw the 2 blocks next to it. Once I draw those first 3 blocks, then I'll add the other blocks that go on top. So again, the way I have these blocks is how it's looking from the front view for the sake of this video. So then I'll draw my other cube that sits on top. And then this cube has the hole in the front. I'll put my crosshair in to indicate that is my hole for that cube. And then the next and final piece is my cylinder. And so I will draw that. And notice I put some dots in close to the corners so I can make those arcs touch and make a nice circle. So I've just drawn what I have on the table. So the next thing is I'm going to draw the top view. So I'm going to put some construction lines going in, going up from all the corners. And once I put all those in, then I can draw what my shape will look like from the top. Now my shapes are 1 inch deep, and so I have just defined how wide each of these shapes are. So up here, I'm going to draw what I see from above. So my wedge shape is simply going to look like a rectangle. My two cubes stacked on top of each other, they're going to look just like a square, and also the cylinder is going to appear like a square shape. We're drawing just the outline. And I will also need to represent where this hole is in my top view. So I'm going to put some construction lines going up from the edges that are tangent to my lines here. So I'm making a line tangent which touches just one point of that circle, and I want to touch just the edge. And now I can indicate that there is a hole in this view with some hidden lines. So I just drew some hidden lines here, some dashed lines for the hole here on my block. And then finally, I'll need to draw the right side view. So again, I'm going to go ahead and make some construction lines going in across from where there's these edges and corners, so I can tell what the height is. So they're very light, so I have one right here, I have one right here, and I have one going across right here. And then from the right side, it's also going to look like a cube. And then I'll draw another rectangle beneath it. And in this view, I'm going to need to indicate some other hidden lines for my object. So I have my wedge shape, and it's on the left side of the object. I'm going to be looking at this object from the right side, so I need to indicate that there is no hidden line there, because the angle is facing away from my point of view. So over here, I don't need to make any sort of hidden line for this wedge. If the wedge was facing some other way, I might need to. But since I'm going to be viewing it from this side, the right side, I'm not going to need to draw that wedge. The only thing I need to draw here is, again, where this hole goes. So I'm putting in some hidden lines going across. Okay, so once I've drawn my picture, we'll zoom in here. So once I've drawn my picture, I have my block with the hole in it represented right here, and I have my hidden lines. I have two blocks that are behind each other with a wedge on the end represented here. And we can only tell that when we look at this drawing here. And then in the top view, we have our block with the hole with the dashed hidden lines. And then I have my two rectangles representing the wedge shape and then the cylinder that's sitting on top of another cube. So I would like for you to do the same thing, except range your blocks in a unique fashion. What we want to look for is everyone to have a different combination of parts. I would not use all of your cubes, all of your shapes. We want to keep this simple, so use 5 different pieces, 5 different parts like I did here, and make at least 3 of those 5 unique type of pieces. So we have some different shapes we'll make.